All right, thank you for staying. Let's begin with the Daily Trust for those who have missed, our earlier review. Now, this time we have the lead story on Daily Trust newspaper, still talking about insecurity. Act now, elders tell Buhari. It has the writers that says Nigeria never had it this bad, and that's according to Onaikan and Kwande. Also, you have 15 soldiers, 2 civilians, 3 vigilantes killed in Kaduna. Bandits can be wiped out in 6 months, and that's according to ex-generals. The next writer there says, we are reviewing our tactics, the Nigerian army there. Also, you have other stories that says, coast clear for Atiku, Saraki, others, as PDP committee throws race open. Secrecy plagues MDA's revenues, spending as open treasury portal shuts down. Beside the pictorial, it says Kano atheist backs 45 years for blasphemy and incitement. The details of that is on page 4 of Daily Trust. I'm with El Rufai. We have to eliminate terrorists. And that's presidential hopeful Bola Tinubu. Also, the next one, fake workers have infiltrated IPPI's platform. The federal government is raising alarm there. At the very bottom, 2023, we will bar parties that violate electoral law, and that's according to INEC. They insist that, parties that violate will have to, contend with the provisions of the newly signed Electoral Act. It insists on June 3rd deadline for primaries, and also exercise must be conducted in constituencies, and that's according to the Daily Trust newspaper. The Punch newspaper also leads with the story that says PDP panel dumps zoning, fears North voting strength. That's paper also has, the riders that talks about, it gives exigency of time as reason for throwing open presidential ticket. It says zoning committee's decision disappointing, hypocritical, and then Pandef Ohaneze fume, PDP will lose with northern candidates, and that's according to MBF. Okoa meets Obasanjo, decries Nigeria's woes. And then you'd see also below the pictorial, reps meet service chiefs, CDS seeks support against terrorists. Nigeria bleeds, Tinubu lamenting during Kaduna visit. 7 train workers missing, losses hit 80 million naira. 163 passengers unreachable rather, and that's according to NRC. Omo Agege asked aides to resign ahead of primaries, and so these are some of the stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Let's get perspectives to some of these. Thank you for joining us again on Daybreak, Mr. Ben Sherman.
Thank you very much.
The major story on the Daily Trust, act now, elders are saying to the president. Would that make any difference?
Once a government is sensitive, that will make a difference. But before then, I want to recall that last week, when we were discussing the necessity to have a state police, the stand of the panel here, 2 of you, was that Buhari said no to it. And I was saying Buhari said yes to it. I've gone through searching to see that it was the president's panel that recommended for the state police. And the vice president said, I stand for state police. But the president said he didn't stand for state police. So you were right, I was wrong. But on the side of VP and the presidential panel, yes, I was right. But that's not the issue today, just to make a clarity or clarification. Having said so, act now. Honestly, the time to act is now on the side of the government, because we are running towards elections, and by the time we go campaigning, you can imagine people you want to rule, there are some other evildoers who indeed want to destroy those same people you want to rule or govern upon. And I see that the generals or retired generals are saying, look, this thing is possible within 6 months. you wipe the terrorism out of the surface of Nigeria. And in my own thinking, it would be possible if, again, we stop this immediate and, how do I call it, unannounced sacking of military officers who are in their prime. Some people are in the battlefield at the point you see that, oh, retirement age has come. Therefore, you follow the law.
You know, I'm actually concerned about this because earlier on we raised the issue that, I mean, sometimes you do not get to hear, you know, people who have a responsibility. You do not hear them talk about the problems in the system until when they are out of the system. The other time it was the Chief of Army Staff, the former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, who was, you know, before lawmakers, and he said something about, you know, it would take about, you know, more than 20 years for insecurity to end in the
Nigeria,
country. And
yeah.
I mean, that was just weeks after he, you know, left the office. And so, you know, you kind of wonder, you know, sometimes, you know, for those who are in service and for those who have retired, what kind of collaboration do we see? Because before he left, you know, there are people who left before him as well. So when you see such things, you know.
You see, the thing is that the military is run by commands, by orders. And of course, you must not be hurt. Rather, let your job be seen. And that's why they cannot just talk. Even within the hardcore civil service, there is this oath of secrecy that many people sign, that they will not talk to the press, they will not divulge any information without permission. Therefore, if you just meet a GOC, you want to talk on so key military operations, sometimes they say, we have a spokesman. So having said so, I still want to go back to where these generals are talking. I think that they know quite a lot of things because some will be in operation line, and of course they say retirement has come, and of course you just abandon the uniform, you go join civilian life. Meanwhile, these are people who indeed can do some jobs, and I want to recommend that honestly. Even if they are retiring and they are in operations, I think the officer corps, you can still add some 2 years for them. You can, for other ranks, non-commissioned officers, you can add some 3 years for them. You can also recall those who have just retired, and you deploy them. Because those who are training in, the soldiers who are training in a military school in Zaria, for example, they have not had the experience. Whereas we have soldiers who indeed had the experience in Liberia and Sierra Leone, they had the experience in the Niger Delta area, and of course, even in northeastern part of this country, they all have been retired. So why don't we simply engage these people? If the president can declare a state of emergency because he has the power, you can as well look at the military law and say, look, I want to extend these people stay in office because there is an emergency on ground. And that is why if you look at John Cardinal and ICOM, he's saying, look, we've never had it.
But is that really the solution? Because, I mean, we recall that I will give instance also with the, you know, the former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai. His service here was elongated, isn't it? I mean, it even led to,
it got to a point where a lot of Nigerians were even asking
a lot of Nigerians were asking that, you know, the service chief should go because they have stayed, they have overstayed.
Elongation of service chief tenures. How many were they? There were 4.
Yes.
Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Naval Staff,
but that
Chief
has
of
an implication. That has an implication on even, you know,
the morale of
on
those
the other
that are
just a moment. Their stay
service.
made some juniors to retire.
Yes.
But what I'm simply saying is, let's extend a theory of general application applied to everybody because there is an emergency on ground. Now, if you just say you reach this level, when there is an emergency, you come, everybody retire and go. Even in a football match, at a critical moment, you have 10 minutes to go. It's not the time for you to just bring out your captain, change your goalkeeper, change this. No, if there are morale boosters that could be done, they should be done.
Mr.
Look at what
Shaman.
has just happened in Birningwari. Honestly, when I saw this statement coming from the Damas and Birningwari, Alhaji Idris Abdul Rauf, I mean, I felt like weeping. Officers, I mean, just being killed like that. Civil defense killed this way, civilians all gone that way, just like that. I think that the time to act is now, like the northern elders are saying. Time is running out.
I mean,
should.
it's always been time to act.
Yes.
Mr. Shemang, instead of this extension that you're talking about, isn't there a way they can collaborate with retired officers without necessarily keeping them in the military? I mean, you don't have to keep them in the military, but you can collaborate with them because you can still tap from their experiences without leaving them in the military. Because leaving someone who is supposed to have gone within the service can lead to stagnation, and it can cause, it will dampen the morale of those who are there.
I actually said it here. I said, look, those who have retired, re-engage them. I said they served in Liberia, they served in Sierra Leone, some even in the Niger Delta area, some in northeast of this country, some fought Matatine. And where was it that Matatine ended within the shortest time possible? So if we can re-engage these people, I think it's doable. And that's why these generals are saying it is doable. And I tell you, it is time for us to have this state police. Yes, let's have them. Improve on intelligence gathering. And when we say mobile phones that are not registered, I mean, should not receive or dial out, I thought it was said to teleguide and block some of these things in terms of negotiating for ransom and all that stuff. But we still see that they are going on. So we need a kind of a reworking of the security architecture in this country.
All right, I want you to give us your perspective on the story on the fake workers, who have infiltrated the IPPIS. The Federal Civil Service Commission is raising alarm. I mean, everyone thought that, well, with the IPPIS, we'll be able to block some of these leakages, but it doesn't look like the leakages have been blocked, really, when you have, fake appointments everywhere and, these fake workers infiltrating.
In the ICT world, there is this thing called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. If you compute the correct information and you want to revisit that, what you have sent in as correct information is what will come out. If you decided that the computer should help you to cheat, the computer is never a liar. It's the operator that is the liar. And that is why, if you check, ASU is saying they have come out with their own system of payment, and they've tested in terms of integrity. It is doable with them. But the government is saying IPPIS is it, and everyone will have to go on that platform.
Yeah, but that's
I want
because
to tell
the government
you that,
also said that the
yes,
test, it didn't pass the test. UTEST didn't pass the test,
yes,
subjected
but
to it
back to your question, you thought we are thinking that with IPPIS, how are fake names, how are ghost workers entering into the system? I tell you that if Daily Trust were to be in the system and you have 3 computer guys who indeed are knowledgeable with the connivance of people, you have what's your workforce, maybe 1,000 staff all over the country. But some people, so officer is saying, add this 5 for me. So is saying, add this 3 for me. And of course, it goes round. When they collect the share. And so IPPIS, truly, there are instances where some people suddenly, as we have now, some people who have been receiving salary regularly, you just see that they've been, you just go and see your salary, you are receiving maybe 10,000 naira, when indeed you are receiving around 100,000 naira. So what went wrong? So there are quite a lot of things to be done. And those young guys, you just see them looking so polished, so neat. So they don't have, some of them, I'm sorry to say, I had to shout at some people when I had to take some of my staff for clearance there. You just see them on phone, just see them playing whatever they're doing, and Old men, old women are queuing, waiting to be attended to. I said, look, you call us for us to clear these people, but we have been neglected. So a lot of things in terms of work ethics, in terms of making the system to work,
So
it's really not sometimes.
it's not the technology that is the problem.
No.
It's not the technology. It is the. I
I
gave you the example of Gigo. Garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you compute, if you want the computer to lie, it will lie. If you want it to tell you the truth, it will tell you the
So,
truth.
Mr.
If you
Sherman.
spell Ayuba, or the way it's supposed to be, or somebody went and changed it to Ayubo, I mean, the computer will return it that
So,
way.
Mr. Sherman, what you're telling us is that instead of the federal government to raise an alarm, it should be looking at the officers that it's employed to man the IPPIs.
Absolutely, because the computers are just there ready to be used. I mean, when you have an AK-47 is innocent, but the person handling it, what are the motives behind it? To kill to protect, or to cause mayhem? It's the same thing with the computering system. Now, if you have a system whereby they said, let us monitor everyone's salary, let us monitor everyone's entitlements, so that we can have a platform and ensure that there is a corruption-free system of payment in the civil service system. Thereafter, some people just went in and said, oh, we can still make this system corrupt. I mean, the law, it's never corrupt. It's the operatives of the law that make the law to be corrupt. So I expect that the federal government or the operatives of IPPIS should be able to check all of this. After all, people go there and still change what they call a declaration of age. You want to remain in service for how long? No, it shouldn't be. Once your time reaches, you just go. Let your children, let other people's children take over this country. You can't remain forever. Some people, you go verify, you see that, look, they are age 7, they already have their first children. I mean, just do a research. You see, at the point, I know of an agency that had to go into, look, all the applications you had in the 90s or in the 80s in this operation. Everybody go write your CV. They didn't know where the chief executive was going to. So everybody wrote. They then brought what was in the file at the time of application. Then you compared. You see, once you carry a file and you see a new paper, white, glittering, just go to that page. It's likely to be declaration of age. And of course, it's falsified in such a way that the person wants to stay in service. And these are things we call secret files. And secret files in secret offices, there has to be disciplined officers to control secret registry. And how did they go into that to change declaration of age in order to stay in service? So it is also look at the time people finish primary school. Primary school certificate is very, very key. If you go to some French country, not some French countries, any school you enter, you say you entered age this. If you are leaving, they give you certificate at the age of this. You're entering another school, you entering that school age this. But in Nigeria, I mean, we don't see age as sacrosanct. We don't see age as a kind of bringing integrity when we say, I am so years. Okay. And that's why people say, I'm +1 today. Happy birthday to me. Why don't you say, I am 60 years, I am 70 years, I'm 40 years. Everybody, I'm +1. No. Be honest.
Well, let's move on and take a look at the Nation newspaper this morning as well. Quite interesting. We have stories that says the lead story, for instance, it says 2023 presidential ticket, PDP to jettison zoning. Autumn-led 37-man panel recommends open race. It says that I'm best to take power for party, says Wike. And then you also have Fayoshe, who says, I'm in race for president. Saraki's pro-consensus group meets Makinde. Now, other stories there. IGP fires 9 policemen over planned strike. NIN SIM linkage. Angry subscribers besiege enrollment centers. You'd also have massive promotion in customs service. Ige Moda. You have Omisore ask Shoinka to retract comment. Now, let's talk about this NIN SIM linkage, of the federal government. That exercise started from last year, and we are seeing
2020.
From 2020, rather. And we are seeing the federal government issue a directive barring all outgoing calls from unregistered SIM cards. And then all of a sudden, Nigerians are now trooping again to these centers for registration, and all of that. It looks like we've forgotten about it in one breath, and then boom, there was attack on Abuja-Kaduna train, and then we see this, directive by the government.
Some people might say it's this fire brigade approach to issues that we do.
Will I really call it fire brigade approach?
On the one hand, you have citizens who are sometimes, reluctant with doing the needful, and then also on the other hand, you have a government that also waits for certain things to happen, and then we swing into action.
Robert Mugabe, some of his saying, whether they were true or not, said the thing with the African, trying to quote Robert Mugabe, the thing with the African is that when they say nobody should go out, it's then people will go out to see whether people went out. Now, it's in the same way here. When they say register your SIM, people will say, I'm waiting to see if people will do it. They say go and take vaccination. I say, I won't take it. I'm waiting to see if those who took it are dead. And those who took it, they're also waiting to see if those who didn't take are dying. So when they say go register this SIM cards, it will help against fraud. It will help in terms of security. It will help for us to know who we are. And look, when I went for an exchange program in SABC some years ago, I was trying to buy a SIM card. The MD of a South African Broadcasting Commission had to sign a paper for me. I had to present my international passport before they could give me a card. In South Korea, it is wrong and criminal for you to have 2 SIM cards. This I know for sure. But in Nigeria, you have as many as possible, very many. And if some people are caught over so with this line, you just throw them away.
And change the line.
And just change the line. And that's why when you catch some criminals, just see how many lines they have. Look at prepaid cards already sold out, pre-registered cards already sold out to people. That tells you criminality will continue. And if government has good intentions that SIM cards should be registered, I think we should try to do it. But again, the time factor. People will always wait till the time minute, rush hour. When it has started, implementation has started, now you want to make an important call, you can no longer do it. You are barred from receiving or from calling. You do go register. And you now have to go register. But again, some very bad guys in society, evildoers, will be sending text messages. Your NIM card, do so, do this for your number, not knowing that you are already giving your data, your information to some crooks innocently. And that's why we're having these cases of identity theft. Some people pretend to be who they are not, and before you know it, scams here and there, and they just evacuate some people's money. I saw a woman screaming, I never withdrew my 1 million from this bank. This bank, you are supposed to protect me. You cannot say I am guilty. I don't even have ATM card, not to talk of me withdrawing. So whatever you have done there, pay me my money. So if I give you money to keep, you don't have to tell me thief came to carry your money, so I can't pay you. It doesn't work that way. And I think the law, people should look at that.
Okay, some Nigerians are still calling for another extension. Meanwhile, this process has been postponed 8 times. The deadline for the NIN SIM linkage has been postponed 8 times. Now that they are barring calls, some people are saying another extension. What do you say to that?
Let it just be, as far as I'm concerned, just like voters registration, continuous registration. Every month that passes, some people become 18 years and they are capable of becoming officers or being voted into. So if we simply say we've given you this time limit, at any rate, at certain rate age, if I were to have the authority, I would not allow some children to have some funds. Truly, I would not. But in Nigeria, everyone wants to have a fund, and that is why registration will keep on going. You go there, you see people trying to do the abnormality, collecting some money before you are registered. Go to zone 3 and see what is happening just by road safety code there. You'll be amazed. People are just milling around to get service, and some people are also milking them. I think that the security operatives should also visit those areas incognito, pretend to be one of the clients, and before you know it, you will unearth some corrective tendencies.
All right. All right. Now, we'll be taking a quick break, and then when we come back, the Daybreak show continues. Please stay with us.